Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Alright guys, so today we're going against the top two 10-inch tablets of 2012 and trying to find out which is the best one for the holidays. Now if you're wondering, of course the iPad, we're putting the new iPad on it, and the second one is the Samsung Galaxy Note 10.1. Now if you're wondering why some of the other Androids aren't here, such as the Asus Infinity Pad and other ones, this one beat out every other Android tablet. If you want to take a look at the videos, feel free to check them out. I do have them on my channel. But this is the top Android tablet of 2012. So let's go and see which one is the best one to buy for the holidays. Now, first off, we have obviously different materials. We have an aluminum brush on the iPad, which is very distinctive and which most people know it by. On the Samsung, we have a plastic polycarbonate. Polycarbonate is a very durable plastic. It's like comparing glass to Gorilla Glass, so it's very durable. And it's a really nice way in terms of feel and weight. Now, the reason why I do prefer plastic over aluminum, now a lot of people feel like, oh, well, aluminum is, a high quality material. This is actually pretty much almost as tough as aluminum in terms of durability. But the main difference is actually that aluminum really makes for a poor Wi-Fi signal in comparison. Every time I have a Wi-Fi signal that's weak, the Samsung gets it more easier than the iPad. So that's one thing I wanted to point out right from the get-go, because I do feel that it's one extra step that I always have to do with the iPad is make sure that it's a really strong Wi-Fi signal, or else I'm just not getting a connection. So that's just one thing that I always kind of point out. Now, in terms of everything else, let's go on the look and feel. So, first of all, in terms of where everything is, you have your power lock at the top right here for the iPad, as well as a headphone port right here. On the side, you have the volume rocker and the screen lock. Left side, nothing, except for noise cancellation. And then also on the bottom right here, sorry for the card, and then also the proprietary connection at the bottom, along with a mono speaker. And then on the back we have a 5-megapixel camera. On this side over here, we have the Samsung Galaxy Note, which at the top is where everything pretty much is. At the top you have the power control, the volume rocker, micro SD card slot, so you can expand it and add up to an additional 64 gigabytes, so that's pretty important. You have an IR blaster, which you can use actually to use this tablet as a remote control for your TV. So that's really nice. As well as a headphone port. On the side here we have nothing, as well as on this side nothing. Although it is important to note, this is the only tablet that offers front stereo speakers, which shows for really the best sound quality out of any tablet, and we'll demonstrate that when we go over music and movies. And on the bottom here we have the noise cancellation mic, as well as the proprietary connection. On the back we have a 5-megapixel with LED flash. And then finally, the most important thing to note is you do have a big extra with the Note, and that is a S Pen made by Wacom. So for those of you who don't know, every graphics designer in the world uses Wacom tablets, and they made this pen, as well as the technology of pressure sensitivity on the tablet. So it's a very impressive thing that it has. Oops, and I reset the tablet while it was going. So let's go right into it while this one resets, and let's see which tablet is the best. Alright, so first off, let's go right into web browsing. So we're going to start two web browsers. Actually, let me point this out. One important thing, of course, about the iPad is that you do not have flash. So that's going to be one thing that you do have on Android tablets that you will not have in terms of in terms of the iPad. So that's going to be one important thing to note. In terms of web browsing moving though, let's see. Oops. There we go. Now. So moves pretty well. There's a little bit more bounce on this one, as you can see. And now let's see, pinch to zoom. Double tap. All right. So as you can see, the iPad moves a little bit quicker in terms of web browsing at times. However, before I just give it to the iPad and web browsing, you can actually do a couple of things that no other tablet can do on this one. So I do have to show that, which is one of the main things is if you use the stock browser, which is called Internet, you can actually do more than just web browse. You can actually do multiple things, such as write notes, or you can even go to as far as watching a video. So you can do multiple things while you're still using the regular tablet. So that's an important thing to note that I feel definitely separates the Samsung Galaxy Tab. So you see, so you can actually still watch a video while going online, and the nice thing about it is it doesn't really slow down. So it's very important that the web browser does not slow down while you're doing other things. So that's definitely important to note in terms of how it operates. As it's still loading that website, and then I can go right to this one and still use it. Oh. And then still use it. If you have the pen ever too close to, it'll actually disable your finger from moving. So it's important to note. So in terms of web browsing, the iPad will move a little bit quicker, but you can obviously do multiple things, and that is one of the just overall extras of the Note. So that's going to be one thing. Now in terms of music player, let's go to both music players, and we're going to play the same song, which I forgot what I did. So let's go the same song. Okay, so first we're going to start on the iPad, and then we'll go over here.
And I heard him say, nothing's ever promised tomorrow today. From the shot like Tim, it's a harder way. So this is in the name of love, like Robert say. Promised tomorrow today. From the shot like Tim, it's a harder way. So this is in the name of love, like Robert say.
So in terms of both music players, obviously the Samsung's going to have a huge advantage of stereo speakers in the front as opposed to a mono speaker on the side. Now that's more apparent even with video players we'll go to next, but it's just one thing I wanted to let people see is the difference of the music player. Now in terms of clarity, they're both really clear, so you have to give it to both tablets for clarity, but overall you do get a little bit of a louder tone with the Galaxy Note, as well as the stereo speakers just make it a lot better, especially when you're out and about. You don't have to kind of hold the tablet. Like I find myself a lot of times with the iPad going like this, like leaning it forward just so I can hear it better. So that's just one thing that I've noticed on the different times I play every kind of media. So now we're going to go to Netflix and play the same movie. Now, one important thing, I usually do YouTube videos. The reason why I have to do Netflix is because the iPad does not have a native YouTube app at all anymore. So that's one of the updates with iOS 6 that have been a big complaint. It does not have a native iPad YouTube app. There is an iPhone YouTube app, but of course it's going to look really crummy, so I thought that was really kind of unfair to do that. So yes. So let me get it right. Okay. So now we're going to see the same video on both. Alright, so in terms of the different things I wanted to point out was, one, now to play back this video you'll see it more so, but one, obviously the audio was a huge difference in terms of having it in the back to having both in the front. It sounded a lot better. Two, obviously the iPad just cannot do 16:9 ratio, so no matter what, you're never going to get the best video experience compared to an Android tablet that uses 16:9. Now, the iPad 4 will most likely have this because of the new iPhone is going to this. You know, Apple's finally learned its lesson, like 4:3 sucks. So yeah, so basically they're changing that aspect ratio most likely in the next iPad. So that you're going to see a move towards that just because Android's always had the advantage that it's always used 16:9. Lastly, in terms of colors, the Samsung Galaxy Note displays a lot truer colors, whereas the iPad tends to oversaturate them even more so. Now, if you know the difference between the Galaxy Note and other tablets is the Galaxy Note tends to saturate a little bit more compared to what you really see. However, in this case, the iPad saturates even more, so you're never getting the photo or video you actually was made. And that's just one thing I've definitely noticed with the new iPad. It just always oversaturates the reds. And also in low light, it makes the black really black, but then you can't see it in low parts of videos like the ones we were seeing. The blacks you can see a lot clearer on here because it brightens it better. So that's going to be one of the other things. Now let's go right into camera. So let's go to photos, go to photos, and let's go into, now first we're going to go on to detail. And in terms of detail, you have really good detail on both in terms of a tablet camera. Now my stance has always been, you know, tablet cameras are at best anyway. But that's just one thing that you can see. One thing to note on both, they both got the little marks that were right there on the cup. But one thing I definitely noticed is in terms of color reproduction, now we'll see this in the next one even more on our color reproduction comparison, but the cup is actually engraved in a off-white, not a bright white. So this definitely shows better color reproduction, as well as even the cup color. It's black, as where this one's kind of like a, it's overcompensating the light here. That's why you kind of see an off black color here, because it's bright. It's try to brightening it, which can be good or bad. It depends on the photo. Now, oops. Then we'll go to color reproduction. Now, in terms of color reproduction, this is where you can really see these are the actual colors of the coaster. And just so you can see, this is the actual colors of the coaster. It's more of a shiny, it's more of a light red and a brighter, actually let me put it more in the light so you can see, because now my camcorder is overcompensating for color. But basically, this is more neutral to actually what the color is on the coaster. As where the iPad overly saturated the red, overly saturated the green, overly saturated the yellow, and the green it made like a teal green, which is a regular green. So it just, you can definitely see the difference in terms of over color saturation. Now in terms of clarity here, however, the iPad has a little bit more clarity in terms of the marks right in here, whereas the Samsung didn't really pick those up. It kind of just basically took it away. So that's going to be one important thing to note, is detail was a little bit better on here, and then color reproduction is a little bit better on here. They're both, again, tablet cameras, so they're not going to be the best no matter what. Now, in terms of gaming, gaming is going to go to the Note. Now, I have done gaming reviews, of course, on this one, where you can see, but basically the Note is really a pleasure. Simply, one, the speakers play into play again, of course, because you have better speakers in the front. In terms of the games that you can get, such as like Horn and other games like that on the Note, they definitely play sometimes just as well as the iPad, if not sometimes better. And it definitely is noticeable. And the fact that when you, both of these can wirelessly transfer to a TV. And when you play a game on the iPad on wirelessly transferring, however, it does not take up the full screen properly because of the 4:3 ratio, as where it does with the Note 10.1. So I really think that's the evolution of gaming, is that, you know, being able to play it on our TVs from your tablet. And both of them have a wireless adapter. The Apple has Apple TV, as where the Note has the Samsung All-Share hub. And both can connect to an HD TV and then make your display on your TV. That plays out better, as well as the last thing where I have to give gaming is you can connect a PS3 controller directly to this with a little $20 USB adapter. And I have a video on it to show you guys how to do it. But when you do that, you can actually control a lot of the games with the PS3 controller, bringing again it to the next evolution of gaming. So with gaming, it definitely has to go to the Note 10.1. In terms of battery life, iPad will win it in this. iPad is going to win it in terms of battery life because it typically will have 1 more hour of battery life in comparison to the Note. The Note 10.1 will only get you about a 9-hour battery life on average, whereas the iPad will get you more of a 10-hour battery life on average. Now this does vary from time to time, so obviously, you know, sometimes you can't get up to a 10-hour battery life on here, and sometimes you can't get a 10.5-hour battery life on there. So it really kind of depends on how you're using it, but for most cases, that's the kind of battery life you should be expecting. In terms of extras, now extras are what come with it. I'm not going to say you know, extras in terms of accessories, because I feel that is a bit different. There are a lot of cases and adapters and all that kind of stuff you can get for both in terms of accessories. But in terms of what comes with it, the Note is obviously going to win out simply because you have extra things like extra media storage that you can add onto it. It literally can be your replacement for your remote control for all of your electronic devices, as well as, of course, the S Pen, which works with apps very well off. Not to mention the fact that you can do double screens and even more. So just to give an example of the different kinds of things you can use this for. So I can use 2 apps, but I can also do even more apps than that if I really want to. Little extras such as being able to do things like pop-up play, and then even use more apps at the same time. It really is just something that you can do very easily, and it really plays into it that the fact that, you know, it's one advantage of the Samsung right now, that you have the ability to play a lot of multiple apps, and it really is the best at multitasking. So it's just one thing that I found that is really nice for that purpose. Now, in terms of price, well, they're both at $499 for the 16 gig model. However, when it comes to the iPad, it does cost $599 for the 32 gig model, whereas the Note only costs you $549 for the 32 gig model. So in terms of price, I will give it to the Note just because obviously if the 16 gig model isn't enough, then you have a cheaper price point. So what is the conclusion? Well, let's tally them up and let's take a look. So in terms of look and feel, this is a preference. However, I do give it to the Note because it is lighter. The materials do not cause any kind of trouble, as where the iPad, the aluminum causes it to be a poor Wi-Fi connection. And lastly, of course, because it is the easier to hold, the curved edges make it a lot easier to hold for a long period of time compared to the iPad. In terms of web browsing, I will lean it more towards the iPad for quickness in web browsing, but really I'm going to give this a draw. The reason is, although the iPad you can do, it seems to run a little bit quicker in terms of web browsing, the Galaxy Note has the ability to use Flash, as well as the obvious ability to do more than one thing while web browsing. You can actually watch a movie, take notes for classes or your meeting, or send an email. So you can do all this simultaneously at the same time, and you do not have to leave the app to do it. So because of that, I will give it a tie. In terms of music and movies, it's definitely going to go to the Note for the screen quality. In terms of not resolution, the iPad does have the better resolution, but in terms of actually watching a movie, it's just so much more of a pleasure to watch it on the Note because of the 16:9 ratio. The Beyond HD supposed video doesn't really bring more clarity in terms of apps like YouTube, Netflix, And in terms of your built-in videos, they're easier to put on the Note because you can get it from whatever source you want. As where with the iPad, you can only really watch videos that are really going to be good quality on from iTunes. Not only that, but obviously you still won't get the 16:9 ratio. So because of that, videos are going to be a pleasure to watch, and music obviously is better because of the stereo speakers. In terms of camera, now this was a toss-up between clarity and color reproduction, and in the end I will give that to the iPad. The clarity is just a little bit better. Now the Note does have an LED flash for low light, but I would just say the clarity is overall. I like the color reproduction from the Note, but you have to give it clarity overall for camera. Lastly, for extras, the Note wins this definitely because it just has so many more extras in terms of software as well as in terms of additional features of hardware you get with it. And then price, the Note wins that as well. So there you guys have it. The best 10-inch tablet for the holiday season is the Galaxy Note 10.1. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.